In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace your front shock. Let's remove the wheel, take off this cap if you have one, use a pry bar or a screwdriver, just be gentle not to damage it or the wheel. Set it aside and then use your 22mm socket and remove all 8 of your lug nuts. Remove the wheel. I'm going to start by removing the bottom 18mm bolt. You don't have to hold the nut. It's held on by a tab that is basically just captive in the frame there, so you don't have to worry about holding it like I just said. There we go. Now you can remove your nut as well. Now if you follow it at the top, you can move this wiring harness out of the way, pop this boot off that protects the threads here, probably rotted them out. As you can see, it did more damage than good. Now to remove that top nut, I'm going to use a 20mm wrench down here to hold the shock, and then a 21 on the nut side and break it free. So I came up through the engine bay right next to the master cylinder. Gives you access to put down a long socket, an extension, and impact it off of there. My regular impact didn't do it. You need quite a bit of power with such a long extension and a rusted nut. If you have something to cut the stud with, I highly recommend that. Before you even try to get the nut off of there, just cut it flush with the nut, then take the nut off. It'll come off right away. Just a little tip. At this point, we have to get the bushing off of here, and then this should want to come right down. Pull down on this. Okay, there we go. And there's your old shock. Don't forget to remove this remaining bushing here. That's trash, don't reuse that. At this point, I want to compress the new shock several times to activate all the oils that are inside. So press it all the way until it stops right there, and then let it come back up by itself. I like to do this 3 to 5 times, again, to mix the oils that are in there. If you don't do this, it'll still work, but 1, it might decrease the lifespan of the shock, and 2, you might get some clunking and banging over bumps while the oils are mixing themselves in there if you don't do this. So there you go. Once this is done, let's get it into the truck. Now get the shock in at the bottom first. I like to do this, so that way it's secured here. Put the bolt through. Don't put it all the way in, because we'll have to put the nut in at the same time. And once you put the nut in, turn the bolt. That'll basically allow it to start onto the nut. There we go. Right there, it started, caught onto the nut. I'm not going to tighten it yet. I want to put it in up top, and then I'll tighten this. So at the top here, put on a washer with the cup part facing up. Put on a rubber bushing with the larger outdented area towards the top, just like this. Slide it down, compress the shock. And with it compressed enough, slide it through, let it expand, and then put a bushing on the top, again with the larger outdented area towards the bottom, the smaller divot on the top. Slide it down, put a washer on, and then your new mounting nut, which is an 18mm now, not a 21 anymore. And this holding nut right here is now a 19mm. So go ahead and hold this, and let's tighten up the nut until it starts squishing the bushings. Once it starts squishing the bushings, we'll stop and leave it at that, because most likely it'll be tight enough. You don't want to crush these, they'll get split, and your shocks are going to start banging around in just a couple months. Okay, now you can't see it, I'll show you in a second. It's hard to see, but the top one is actually squished, the bottom one not so much, but that's because the weight of the truck is not up and loaded on the suspension. Once we do that, the bottom one will also be squished. So I'm actually going to just leave it at this. I'm going to try and show you the top really quick. There you can kind of see how the top is squished down a little. That's all you want. You want the bushing to expand to the size of the washer, and that's it. Leave it at that. Now let's tighten up the lower shock bolt and then torque it to 111 foot-pounds. Right there. Perfect. All right, let's get the wheel back on. Put on all 8 of your lug nuts, bottom them out, and then we'll torque these in a cross pattern to 165 foot-pounds. And don't forget about this cap.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.